Hello, everybody, and welcome to our weekly live stream here at RACE, where we're raising awareness of coaching in education. We're talking today with Anastasia Popova, who is here to tell us all about designing our life by using the art of self-questioning. Get ready to share your comments and to ask questions to Anastasia. And let's get into it. Anastasia, welcome to our weekly live stream. Tell us, what is facilitation and how did you get into it?
Hi, Carla. Thank you very much for having me. I must to have shout out to the RACE family and Beatrix for considering coaching as a very serious part of education. Now, here's another information for you guys. So, facilitator, a new profession that I even didn't know existed until May 2021. So, who is a facilitator? It's a person who is guiding the group to make more informative and more productive decisions together. This is the person who doesn't interfere in what the people say, but very much interferes on how the process is happening. So there are around 50,000 facilitators around the world. And I became one of them just recently in the May 2021. And it was a very interesting story when the COVID got stepped all over the world. And I've lost as a marketing person 2 clients. We've been standing in the middle of the field doing team building. And I was working as an MC at that time and screaming, okay, group, you move this way and that. And then out of a sudden, the municipality people here in Dubai, who are normally wearing white kanduras, appeared on the field and they said, that's it. The COVID came. You cannot continue any events anymore. This is the time when I came to know, okay, so what is COVID? And then I started to search on that. And then me and my client, an event organizer, we started to research online on how we can transition and do team building remotely with the teams. And then this is when I've discovered the word facilitator, team building facilitator. And then I started to research more and more on that. And then I came to know that there is a person who can help, support the group, help them to analyze and move forward with their decisions, to solve the problems, to brainstorm solutions, and make things that they even didn't know that they can together as a team. And this was the breakthrough moment because I became obsessed and passionate about this career. And shortly thereafter, I have joined the International Association of Facilitators. And this is where the power of self-questioning kicked in. And if we can check the video, it will tell you why.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share the video that you shared with me about the facilitation. While we're waiting for the video to load, can you tell us what's the similarities between facilitation and coaching, Anastasia?
Oh, right. Well, self-questioning and the power of questioning will be actually one of them, because both professions meant to help a person to make the decision by themselves. Neither coach nor facilitator tells you what to do, but rather guides you with different methods, whether it's questioning, whether there are some different coaching techniques to help you to find the questions within yourself. And just like coaching, facilitation gives you an opportunity to utilize your potential, because we all have already everything we need within us. But what we need is somebody to facilitate our journey to where we want to be. So this is where facilitators and coaches are sharing a lot in common, and therefore the community worldwide is very very much together. They are working side by side. They understand the value of guidance and help towards to the people. That would be the one.
Okay, great. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go on, but I'll just show the intro from the video about the
Thank you.
Facilitators are fantastic at asking questions of participants and of themselves. Are we working in partnership? Is this the best group process? Am I doing the right thing? You're not the only one asking these questions. Facilitators around the world ask them too.
Okay, so that was an example there, wasn't it, of the types of questions that you're talking about? And I know that you're going to tell us more about those questions. So can you tell us? Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just confirming that, yes, the video is perfectly reflecting what I'm doing and what we are about to talk.
Yeah, so those are just some introductory questions. Have you got some other questions that you can give us examples of, particularly that may overlap with the types of questions that we use in coaching?
Yeah, so let me just break it down, one understanding, and establish here common ground for everyone who is watching us right now and will watch later on. So self-questioning, as it is, it's a strategy. It's a strategy to help yourself to find the answers within. So why I'm taking that so seriously and why I've chosen that to be a really important topic, because if you know this strategy and if you repeatedly are trying to ask yourself right question, you will be able to develop a self-coaching technique and become a coach for yourself in a way. So this is very important to understand why do we do that. And as far as educational, since we are talking about coaching and education here, I would like to touch down on one important thing. So there was a study, for example, the scientists, they had two groups: the students who would just receive, would be present on the lecture, they will receive materials from the professor. And then another group who will visit just the same lecture, but then they will be given time to reflect and to ask within a group each other questions. What do they think about this topic? So after some time, when the experiment was done, both groups have been examined. So they passed the exams, and the group that has time to reflect on the topic and who have time to ask their peers and the students why the professor asked us this question, what's the difference between A and B, these guys were able to succeed way better. So I see that as a fantastic way of kind of extending the help for the parents, for the coaches, and even for the teachers who do understand that they are working today in the system which is fixed. But there is just additional way. When they give this plenty of information to the students, they can pause, give them 5 to 10 minutes of time, and give them time to reflect. So the students, without any pressure, without any rush to run for the next lesson, they have time to reflect and to have a deeper understanding of the subject. And this is where the magic comes into the picture with self-questioning.
Why do you think it's so important, Anastasia, to have this skill at a young age? Because we talk here a lot about taking coaching techniques into schools and giving it to children at a younger age. Why do you think that's important, even with these self-questioning that comes from facilitation? Right. Well, if we want our children to perform better at the end of every year on the exams, the simple thing that the way we can enable and to help them to do that, if it's in the school, the teacher, just like I gave an example, can give them some time to reflect, so it will affect the anxiety level. They can reduce anxiety and not be that nervous during exams, and have a full understanding why they are giving this or that answer, because they would know the subject. If we are talking about the teacher in the school who is trying best and following the procedures, protocols, and policies of the school, but somehow is not able to reach two other students in the similar way. And normally in the same group, one student will perform better than another. So what happens if the teacher will just give them the time to reflect and be able to come back to the same teacher with the questions? Both of the students, in fact, the entire class, might perform in general, have a similar understanding of the subject, because they have
time to reflect, ask questions of themselves, and ask question the teacher. And the third scenario that I see over here, the mom. Remember, for example, you're going in the street and somebody would ask the question, your child, and moms normally tend to reply to other adults on behalf of the child. So the child doesn't really have time. And when I would be excited, I would say, hey, how are we doing today? And then the mom would say, we are doing good on behalf of the child. So, but instead, what mom could do, mom could say, could just pause a little bit, give this time to the child of really any age to think about that, to reflect, and to have this space for self-reflection, to give the child this opportunity to respond, and to and this is how she will be able to navigate through her motherhood, and for parents through the parenthood, to see on what the persona is growing out there, and what is really happening, and to ask them even more questions on that. And then sometimes the parents, they don't need to be really in a panicking mood like it happened in COVID, when COVID came and all the parents became teachers, homeschool teachers. So, and then what happened, they started to realize, oh my God, what do I do with my child, and how I'm going to explain them the topic. So this is how you can simply, after every conversation, you can ask them question and wait, and let them answer, let them express themselves, because at times you will be surprised to know that the child actually would be able to develop an answer by him or herself. But in case, he will always come back to you for additional information.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you went into the parents as well and talked about that, because when I'm listening to you describing that, the first thing was coming to my mind was stress, and how stressful it is sometimes when you're trying to explain, and you get to the point where you're lecturing children. You're lecturing whether you're doing it as a teacher or you're doing it as a parent, and it's exhausting for you. So having these different strategies where you can coach the child to come to their own conclusions at a young age, so that as they get older, they have this ability to use this self-questioning. It's going to make things a lot more relaxed. We've got some great comments coming in, so I want to give you a chance to answer some of our audience. We've got Jacob is given us a question. He says, how can coaches and facilitators work together to ensure better results and outcomes?
Well, Jacob, Mr. Jacob, they are already working together in many of the countries. We just have to start doing that here in Dubai. Every facilitator understands that coach has a very profound knowledge of and background in psychology. So majority of facilitators already, depends on the topic and depends on their on what they are working on, they will involve them as a third party to have their expert topic opinion on that, and to develop together the training or the program, if it's several days, or retreat programs. So those fancy retreat programs that you see Tony Robbins like in US and everywhere, normally there is a coach and a facilitator are working in a partnership in order to develop those retreats. It's already happening. We just have to do that in Dubai.
Yeah, great. And we've also got this comment from Renu. Renu says, hi, Carla, Anastasia, great discussion. Self-questioning, an important coaching tool. Most definitely, Renu. And Martin Richards says, I've seen this. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've done today. Yeah, in primary schools, often we say to the students at the end of the lesson, let's have a chance to, a reflect. And we have these question stacks as well. Quite often we have forms of self-questioning and metacognitive exercises that help the children to reflect on their own processes of learning and what kind of questions they were asking. So yeah, absolutely, Martin. I've seen that many times. And Renu says she's got another question for you. How to increase the curiosity in children to instill self-reflection and questioning?
Very good question. So first, I'm glad to know that Martin is sharing that in some countries it's already happening. I'm originally from Russia. Our system do not recognize right now that there are alternative ways in education. I would pass the message to those teachers. And how to create a curiosity? Well, it's very important because the children, just like adults, all of us, we need to have only one answer. Why? Why do I need to do that? So if you will explain to your child that that if you will ask the question and if he will be able to answer you the question you're asking, he might be, and you can approach that in a creative way. He might know the answer by himself, but he just doesn't know that yet. So one of the role plays I would suggest you from facilitator world that we do, we have such a thing called hot seat. So there is a fantastic group of coaches and facilitators in UK called School of Facilitation. So what we do, we gather together once a month and we create a thing called hot seat. What is a hot seat? You might have a problem or something that bugs you, something on your mind. In order to help you to decide what to do, all you can do is just to ask the person question. So you do not receive preaching. You don't ask for advice, really. What you do is giving, for example, like we did it just last week. There were 10 minutes and I was trying, my question was how I can become a greater facilitator. So I went on mute and the coaches and facilitators one by one started to ask me questions. I did not reply, but what started to happen in my head during this time, the brain started to get activated on what do I really want and what I'm passionate about and how does it go, without having any advices, preaching or telling me what to do, really. So you can apply the same thing for the children, really. You can, if he's coming to you, Rena, and saying, Mom, I do not know how to do this math exam. So what you can do, instead of thinking, oh my God, do I know math? I do not know it either. Instead of that, what you do, you just say, what do you think might be the right thing to do here? Then he's going on and he's like, no, still do not know. What is important for you to learn from that? What do you want to learn from this? What do you really want to understand? What do you think is missing? So what you can do, you can ask him in a row several questions without giving him concrete answer, to see on what he is capable of, to give him this space. So now, just to be clear, it's not that the children has to be just left by themselves and find all the answers, and we don't have to be parents, really. But what we can do, we can play our part by creating this space, and I think it requires patience from the parents. And believing in your child, believing that he can, because this is what us facilitators are doing with adults. So all we need to do is to believe that they can. And in case they truly are missing some part of information, you can always refer to an expert or the teacher in this case and ask them on that. But I would say create a space and talk to them like adults, because they are so smart already from 3 years onwards. They know exactly what's going on. And I think that will do.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Kids are really smart and they know lots of things. We've got a nice sort, I think this is sort of story example from Martin. He says, this had been a paper, scissors and glue lesson. We all know those messy kids lessons. Paper had been cut and glued, hair had been cut and glued, and even a few fingers had been cut and glued. Oh dear. Not many of the paper model houses had been built. As the teacher asked the children to sit in a circle at the end of the lesson, I expected that she was about to share her thoughts on how those little buildings should have been made. In a voice that was wholly calm and filled with curiosity, she asked each of the students in turn questions. So, So Martin, that's a great example. I love that. There is that temptation from teachers and from adults to come in with solutions all the time, or to be annoyed when the learning outcomes haven't been met. But in this example, the teacher had turned it into another learning opportunity by asking questions and using that curious voice herself, where she fully knew the answer. I think we have to do a bit of acting. Am I right, Anastasia? When we're doing facilitation, there's some acting skills that we need also.
Not really. But what's important is just like in a coaching, Oh God, it's just you really have to do a lot of work on yourself. If you want to help other people, whether it's children or adults, you have to understand that you have to do an equal amount of the work on yourself, so you can be at a good service for the people. So sometimes people tend to forget that, and whether there are some fantastic facilitators and coaches who are amazing at what they do, but then it turns out that in their personal life they are going through a massive struggle. So to make sure that I'm not saying that's all over, but there are cases like that. So I say coaching and facilitation are two things, as lame as they might sound, but I will. It's a choice and it's a lifestyle, just like they say for the fitness. When you go for the coaching and facilitation, you oblige and you promise to deliver, and therefore you keep doing your inner work that is required to be a really good one.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. So the more skilled you become in receiving these coaching skills and doing the work on yourself, the less likely it is that you have to act and be creative. Yeah. Okay, great. I definitely think that makes sense.
So it's very natural, no acting really.
Yeah, so it becomes more natural over time, the more that you work and develop yourself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Renu says, thank you so much. Talk to them as adults and give them space. Okay, thank you, Renu. All right, so I would like us to have an example of facilitation. So have you got an exercise for us or something that we can do here online and offline? That we can...
Okay, so let's do next. How many people we have? Are we able to see how many people we have right now in the studio?
Well, I know we've got Martin, Renu, and Jacob are here.
All right.
But we don't know who else is in the background there.
So let's do next, because we will apply exactly what I've just said. We're gonna help right now ourselves, so then we can help our children. So here is what I would like to invite you to do. Kindly drop in the chat, recall the last question you ask yourself, whether in your mind, whether you spoke to yourself out loud. Try to recall. It can be about anything. I hope it won't be very personal, I mean, in terms of for you to share, but what was the last question you've asked yourself up to this moment? And I'll kick it off just to let you know. So, for example, when I was going for this session with Carla, I was asking myself, so what which story I can really tell to the people that might be helpful for them, and how I can deliver my message about self-questioning as much as I can. So that was my latest question on the top of my mind from today. So, and I was developing that. Drop the questions and let us see how do you talk to yourself, so we can see how to turn this power of self-questioning and what we can work with into self-help. Drop any of the self-questions, and Carla, do not hesitate, share with us 1, 2. What was the latest question which was on the top of your mind? And I will tell you magical things you can do after to build up on that to help yourself.
Okay, so while we're waiting for those questions, I just want to get you to clarify. Sometimes people ask a lot of questions in their mind, but they're self-doubting questions. How can we differentiate between self-doubting questions and these facilitation or these questions that are going to develop us as a person?
Oh, very good question. I was thinking about that too. So, this is the moment of recognition. It's very important for you to recognize where this negative self-talk comes from. So one way of doing that, when I was one time doing this intensive course of self-expression and confidence, one of our gurus would share with us this exercise. So at times, if negative talk kicks in, it's very important to recognize that. The way to develop this self-recognition is to ask yourself at this very moment a question: where this thought really comes from. Why do I really think this way? I'm gonna give you I'll be vulnerable, and I'll give you my example from yesterday's session that I had with my peers. I realized that as more we grow, as more we are having reflection on our childhood. So what happens if I will say to myself, Anastasia, you are not a very great facilitator, you didn't achieve enough, I will pause and I will ask myself, so why do I really think this way? So I will start digging. I'm a Virgo. I love to ask questions, everyone and myself. So Virgos will understand. So what do? I start to understand, okay, listen, is that me who's thinking that I'm a failure, or this is the idea that I perceived from my parents, because they've been told in my childhood so many times that I wasn't a good student in the school and I didn't deliver really good results. It definitely takes a time and experience to be able to recognize those thoughts. But once you will be able to do that, and to understand where is it coming from, you will be able to replace them with the good ones. You will be able to say yourself, listen, this is actually not me speaking. It's my mom who had her own things in her head at the time and went through her struggles. So right now, that's not the part of my life. And to really be in a present moment and to replace that with a good thought and decide on what you would rather focus on. And replace this thought. I'm not sure if it does really answer amazingly your question, Carla, but I believe this is an ability that, and this is a skill that we need to develop with the time to be able to recognize. So to help you and the people to guide on how to differentiate the negative from positives. And if somebody from the audience, we have coaches who definitely know answers on all that.
No, I think it's spot on. I think you're absolutely spot on. I think that's the most important thing, is to know where those voices are coming from and to know the difference between our questions, our curious questions, our problem solving questions, and self-doubt, and the source of self-doubt. And Martin sums it up. He says, yeah, whose voice is speaking in my head? That would be the question that you would ask in those moments. Okay, so let's go over to those questions that have come in answer to your request. So we had Martin, his first question, or one of his last questions he asked himself was, how big a game do I want to play? Oh, that sounds very interesting.
That's ambitious. Okay. So, all right. So that was the last question. Now we know, Martin, what you've been thinking lately. Okay. So here you go. You have this question that you're asking yourself. And then I will encourage you to do this. I'll encourage you to remember, three things: the way we feel, the way we feel about the topic. So the next question, which I would do on your place, I will ask yourself, how do I feel about playing this game? How do I feel about that? And answer yourself this question. That would be question number one. The second thing that you will ask, why do I really want to play this big game? What's at stake out there? What's the outcome? What I'm looking for? What's just realistic goal I'm going after? So that would be your second question. And the third one, you will look at your answers. You will understand and you will know, Martin, I'm sure you're a skilled coach. You will know your true and sincere motivation on why you are doing that. And then you will be able to, in order to act on that, you will be able to decide what would be your action number one towards the decision that you have made. So in fact, it's that self-questioning method that will help you to a little bit dig. I don't want to use the word dig. I really don't want none of us digging inside ourselves, rather than treating our body as the treasure box that has all the answers. And what we need to do whether with help of ourselves, whether with help of other people, ask right questions ourselves every time, so we can pull that very correct answer from within. And I'm sure that all of us, with students that they might need our help and guidance, but with adults, it's a little bit more easy, because the best answer that you can give to yourself will not be from the third or fourth party. The best answer and advice and the choice that you will make will be within. I'm sure about that. You will never regret about that, and you will always feel in 1, 2, 5 years ahead, you're going to feel good about that, because it was your sincere, true choice. And I hope that answer that helps, Martin. Drop for me the comment. If not, happy to explore more. Let me know.
Yeah, so we're about to wrap up. So I just want to feature the other questions that we had coming in. We had this question from Jacob, who said, why can't I be less judgmental? Very interesting question there. And we had Renu, who said her question is, am I doing enough towards reaching out to people who require help back home? I think that's a very expatriate question. We've got lots of people living outside of their home countries at the moment. And I think that comes to mind quite often. And I think those two questions are examples that we need the right facilitation, and we need the right questions so that we don't slip into that negative self-talk, which you give us a great example of how we can do that. Martin also says, feel uplifted. Why? I want to play the biggest game I can. And the action, paint the world and where I am taking action. I love that response.
Martin. Oh, that looks good.
He's followed it step by step. And he also says, Anastasia is speaking about the mechanics behind the ambassador story. You know which book. Okay. All right. So Martin's on form today, really paying attention. Thank you for that, Martin. And we've reached the end, unfortunately. Anastasia, have you got any final words of wisdom for us on how we can design our lives using the art of self-questioning?
So knowing which company of the people we are having today, and fantastic mindful coaches who are having this non-stop journey and constantly working on themselves, my giveaway, and the one thing that I will encourage you to do, as a parent, I will ask you and invite you to slow down and be more patient, and to give a space to your children, so you can see how they are being self-expressing themselves. And as an adult for yourself, I will encourage you, after having conversations like that, whether it was a race live talk with Carla, whether it was a webinar with Tony Robbins, after every bit of information that you receive, take your time to reflect. Do not jump right next to another event to receive more information, but to reflect and ask yourself, well, how do you really feel about the information that you've been receiving right now? Does it really resonate? Is something that Anastasia said has to do anything with my life? What's the difference? Do I really want to be a coach, or maybe I would like to be a facilitator? What are the things that really strike me, and why? I would say that, because this is what brought the peace of mind in my life, and I'm a very hyper and dynamic person, and I'm sure it will help to all others out there. I hope it will. If not, blame it on me.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining us today, Anastasia. It's been wonderful to learn from you, and I'm sure we've got lots that we can put into practice there, and we can go away and apply that practically to our lives today. So Jacob, let's have you applying that, and let us know how you get on. We'll be back again next week with another live episode, so we look forward to hearing your comments. And thank you again, Anastasia.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you very much. And thank you to all of our race supporters. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here for us.